Hey gun people, back to open carry 2. I didn't know how long it went. I can upload this one, then upload 2. So I was just on the Texas Constitution on the last one, Article 1, Section 23. It says that the legislator has a right to regulate wearing of guns. Now a lot of people think open carry is legal, so therefore I can open carry my gun any way I want. So if I want to carry it in a holster, that's here. If I want to carry it here, that's open carry. If I want to carry it here, I'm in legal open carry. If I want to carry it here, you can't do it. Open carry says it must be on a hip belt. I think it says hip, or a shoulder holster. Those are the only 2 places you don't carry. So if you're carrying this gun any other place than on your hip, I think it says hip, or a shoulder holster, you're in violation of open carry. So you may think you're exempt, you may think you have a CHL, another loophole that the government put in there instead of just saying it's authorized. So now there's going to be leaving up to officers. Well, what happens if I have a leg holster and it's here? But the leg holster is connected to my hip. Is that legal? Well, I think it's a hip holster. Well, somebody else is going to say, you know what, I think that's more of a leg holster. I think you're in violation. I think I'll take you to jail and we'll make case law. And we'll get to go to court. Okay? So, I mean, I don't know why the legislature put that in there. Probably because they didn't want people carrying a pocket. I would just think if it's on an approved holster and not loose or able to flop out or fall without some sort of restraint, it probably would have been better wording. But who am I? I'll write laws. I only got to go out there and, as a cop, had to go out and try to force them and figure out the minutia that the damn lawyers and idiots that write it screw it up. Texas is currently one of 5 states that does not allow licensed handgun owners to carry their weapons openly. One of 5 states. So the other states, freaking Florida, New York, Illinois, South Carolina, and Washington, D.C. Way to go, Texas legislator. You made a group with Washington, D.C. for the same damn gun laws that they got. That's brilliant. Okay? If we just had constitutional open carry here, we wouldn't be discussing all this bullshit. It'd be like, you know what? You're authorized to open carry. You don't have to prove it to government. You don't have to ask anybody's permission. Cops ain't got no right to come up and harass you. Dumbass citizens ain't got no right to call and complain and say I'm scared and cry their little tears, and it would be over. It would just be and instead they make all this minutia that cops have to figure out, DAs have to walk through, court's going to have to establish case law. You've got all this crap going on because you make this law this ridiculous, and now they're going to be like, you know what, agencies are going to say this costs too much money, we can't do that, you got to do this. And the easy fix will be, you know what, we just need to do away with open carry, it's just creating too many problems. It's creating problems because government's the problem. Government's never the solution, it's the problem. Remove your controls and your bullshit and just make it open constitutional carry and be done with it. Same way with a rifle. You can only carry a rifle on your shoulder. People think you can carry a rifle open carry. It's got to be on your shoulder. They put that in there, which gives cops or some guys having a bad day the ability, the government, to come in and go, you know what, we want to fuck with this guy, we don't like his attitude. That really wasn't on his shoulder, it was down on his arm. It slipped off his shoulder, therefore he was in violation. Let's take him to jail. By the letter of law, they're right, and you're going to get, you know, and maybe some DA will dismiss it, probably most of them will, but maybe one will go, you know what, I'm tired of these open carry guys, I'm going to take this to the hill, we'll make case law, and I'll just prosecute this, see if I can't convince a bunch of jurors to convict this guy. It just doesn't make sense to me, but, and then at the bottom of this list that I have here, I put a couple of case laws in detail about United States versus Robinson. This was a case where it was appealed because a radio dispatched someone, and you can read the law, but basically the statute is, and I talk about this a lot in other videos, cops can do things as long as they're in a place they're allowed to be. Otherwise, if they're in a place they're not allowed to be, everything they do becomes fruits of the poisonous tree, and anything that fruit produces or that tree produces is no good. So, making sure cops know, I got to make sure I'm where I'm allowed to be before I do anything. Otherwise, whatever I find or whatever I do is going to be thrown out, can't come back on me because I wasn't allowed to be there. So, how do we get past that? Well, I think it was United States versus Robinson. Yeah, United States versus Robinson. The courts pretty much said that when officers are allowed to believe what other officers tell them, and they don't have to independently verify it. And I think the case was dispatch Somebody called in and said the car was stolen. Dispatch put it out. An officer stopped the car. It was stolen. He arrested the guy. He had a gun. He was going back to prison. And they tried to get the gun and everything suppressed because the officer did not independently verify that the information that dispatch gave him was correct. Now, I'm iffy on this case here. Okay, and I know people are going to be like, man, look, I don't like government power, and this kind of gives government power that can be abused very easily. Okay, and when I was a younger cop, I know cops that would go to a payphone and call in an anonymous call to get cops to certain locations to get us there. And what this case did is pretty much said that if somebody calls in anonymously to 911 and gives her information and she passes that on an officer, whether it's completely a lie, the officer has no liability whatsoever to confirm that that information is true and correct, and now he is automatically blessed. He has a right to be there because he was dispatched. Now, as a cop, that's pretty reasonable, and I like that because it'd be a pain in the ass for me to go, okay, with cell phones now, it wouldn't be quite as hard. Now I think the law should be able to say, you know what, most cops have cell phones, most departments have cell phones. It's not unreasonable to have the officer, because dispatch is not a cop. They haven't been through a police academy. They're not peace officers. They don't have powers to arrest. They don't carry guns. They are not cops, but they are part of the law enforcement prosecution team. So what rights do they have, and how much do you pass on to them? I think cops have too much power as it is, and now you start giving it to everybody that works with cops, and that's how government grows in power. So I'm not a fan of this. This law is kind of iffy. It's got some good things that are reasonable, but it gives too much of a blanket umbrella coverage that anybody can call 911 and go, yo man, Billy Bob's got some dope on him, here's what he's wearing, he's at the bar right now, and I think this is the case, he's at the bar right now, and you can go get him. And now the cops can go there with no independent validation, not knowing whether or not this is Billy Bob's ex-wife, Billy Bob's ex-wife's new boyfriend, not knowing shit, not knowing his fault. Now they're going to go in and contact. Billy Bob's going to be upset. What are you doing? Get your hands off me. I know my rights. I didn't commit any crimes. He's going to get beat down, arrested for resisting arrest, and he didn't do jack shit. But the law says, you know what? Cops are covered. They have a right to be there. So this law basically says cops have a right to be there as long as they're dispatched. Well, guess what? For open carry, anybody calls 911, cops are automatically on you. I mean, I think cops can see you open carrying without 911, make their own determination. I thought that was a cat, but that was one of my chickens. And I think they can make their own determination on whether or not you are in violation of law, and they can act on that reasonable suspicion under Terry, other circumstances. They see you with a gun, it's in violation until you prove otherwise. I don't think they need 911. But now all they need is a 911 dispatch call and you're there. So that basically what this case gave is every liberal crying tears, whiny, gun scared, anti-gun, I hate gun owners, I want to screw every gun owner people. Now all I got to do is dial 911, call on you, complain, and cops have a right to be there, they have a right to contact you. So until that's fixed, lawful gun owners are going to be freaking harassed, and it's wrong. But, you know, a lot of things wrong. So this is a pretty lengthy discussion I put in here. I copied the case law, how they ruled, a bunch of things on it. And then I think there was one or two other cases that I got lengthy on. What's this one? State versus Thomas. Okay, this is dealing with officer safety issues. And I'm not sure if this is the right case for this, but there's a case law out there that says officers' right to safety is equal in the scale of a rights person to privacy. So my right as a citizen to privacy and the Fourth Amendment unreasonable search and seizure, my right to that is equal to the officer who's approaching me's right to making sure he's safe. What does that do? Well, my chickens are coming here eating. I don't know if you guys can hear. They found some crickets over there hopping. Hey, I'm filming. Keep it down. So that right is equal. So what does that mean? That means that if a cop errs on the side of taking you down and proning you out at gunpoint to ensure that he's safe, the courts are going to rule with him. I know. I mean, look, all law enforcement can be abused. All cops can plant evidence. All cops can beat people. All cops can do things. I mean, it just comes with the job. They have the power. They have the ability. Hopefully, they've been doing it for a while. They don't do that. Most of them don't. I've seen it done by a few, and when I have, I've called them out on it. But a lot of times, you've got to pick your battles. You can't pick every little minor thing. So, is there bad cops? Of course there are. Is there wiggle room for abuse. Yes, in all laws there's wiggle room for abuse, whether it's from Congress, the laws, the DAs. The DAs don't want to charge because they're getting money and they're getting friends, and Congress passes a law because they're getting money and they're getting bought off. So, you know, there's corruption everywhere, but everybody just wants to focus on the cops because the cops can impact us most directly and personally. Let's see. This goes into justifying protective search and all that. So that's a good little read if you want to review that. Again, if you go to the description, I have a link for this document. I think there might be one more. Texas Penal Code, Section 602, requirement of culpability. Except to the right of this subsection, a person does not commit the offense unless he intentionally, knowingly, recklessly, or with criminal negligence engages in conduct has the definition of the offense occurs. And then it goes down to culpable mental states for relative degree, from highest to the lowest. The highest culpable mental state is intentionally. Below that is knowingly. Below that is recklessly. Below that is criminal negligence. So if you want to read that section, that's a good section. I'm pretty sure that's the last thing I got. That is the last thing. So open carry, look, I'm all for it. I just think people ought to be educated. I think most people who open carry, if they handle it right, they're probably not going to have a problem with most cops. But you know what? There's going to be some cops out there that don't give a shit, and they're not going to like it, and they're going to express their views, and they're going to make you miserable and put your hands up and give me your gun, and it's my right under so-and-so section to seize your gun until I'm done with this contact, so give me your gun. And they may load it. I mean, I saw a video where a cop just loaded a guy's magazine, dumped all his bullets on the ground, then laid his gun on the ground, said, "There's your gun," and walked away. Totally inappropriate. Totally unjustified. Now remember, if you've got any clout and you're worried about open carry, your local cop, agency, city council, county, whatever, they can pass laws and say, you know what? You guys are not going to take people's guns away. You are not going to stop lots of carry holders until you contact, if you contact any complaints on an open carry, you will ask the person if he's an open carry and authorized, ask him to present it, and if he's presented, you will terminate that contact. Done. If any agency passes that law, they're going to make their life easier and your life easier. They're going to take away these rogue cops who are going to be like, well, you know what, I just don't like being called out here, and you're out here, and now I got to call and deal because you want to be Yahoo and carry your damn gun in the open, and now I got to waste my time coming out, and they're going to be pissed off, and they're going to prolong the contact, piss somebody off, get in a piss, and then go, you know what, let me seize that gun. I don't know if that's all. Let me check this gun, see if it's stolen. Let me see your ID again. You know what, I don't like your attitude. Have a seat on the curb. So if agencies and responsible chiefs and sheriffs did this right, they'd be like, look, open carry's happening. Here's the policy. You contact, you request if they're a concealed carry. If they have a concealed carry and they show it to you, your contact is over. Discontinue the contact and move on. Now, if they do anything else, they're in violation of policy. That's how you stop. And I mean, it's just reasonable to do that because you're going to have cops that aren't going to do that. And you're going to have cops that are going to push the law. And you know what? You're technically in violation. Turn around, put your hands on your back. I'm going to search you. Get against the wall. Pat you down. Do you have any other weapons? Why are you carrying this gun? And they're going to wait until they do all this bullshit to you until they ask you for your CHL because there's no policy. So they can get away with it. If sheriffs and police departments enact this policy that says once they show you a CHL, your contact is done and over. They have not committed a crime. They are free to leave. And if you do anything else, you're out of policy. Man, that would just stop all the bullshit. And to be honest, it would give cops an escape. Because now cops, if I was a cop, I'd love that rule. Perfect. Now I can just go there and deal with it, be done with it. I don't have to ask. I don't have to be nice. You know what? Hey, guy, you got an open carry permit? You got a concealed carry license? Yeah. Can I see it? Okay, thanks a lot. We got a call. Have a nice day. I'm done. I'm moving. And I'm within policy. They can't come back and go, that cop was lazy. He didn't ask any questions. He didn't even check the guy out. He didn't. I want to make a complaint. You know what? The cop was in policy. That's our policy and procedure. That's what he was told to do, and that's what he did. We're done. Have a nice day, citizen. Bye. And that'll be the end of it. But most agencies aren't going to do that, which they should. All right, so I'll go ahead and end that on open carry 2. Hopefully you got something out of that. I'll try to answer questions in the comments, and we'll end that there.